Have you ever noticed how we get used to emotional emptiness as if it were part of the furniture in the house? At first it bothers, it hurts. There's that feeling of loneliness, of something being missing. But over time we start to call this pain routine. You start to think it's normal to live in an empty routine, without emotion, without purpose. That's where the danger lies. The comfort zone is often just a cute nickname for the meaningless life we accept to live. The scariest thing, we convince ourselves that everything is fine, that it is better this way, that it could be worse. Even when we're in a toxic relationship, when every day starts the same, ends the same, and everything between breakfast and bedtime seems like a big nothing. It's constant demotivation with a touch of automatic smiling. You wake up, work, have a little fun, and go to sleep. No questions, no confrontation, no emotion, just a silent loop where silent sadness becomes the background soundtrack. And you don't even realize how much you're fading away. You know that feeling of being in the middle of a crowd and still feeling alone. This has a name. It's the emptiness that screams when everyone around is too busy to notice. And the question that won't go away: when did you accept living like this? When did discomfort become comfort? When did your pain start to feel normal? Have you stopped to think if you are living or just existing? The truth is that getting used to emptiness is like leaving a wound open and pretending it's not bleeding just because it stopped hurting. But the blood is there. And little by little, you become empty without realizing it. Some people call this maturity, others to focus on what matters, but deep down, it's just fear. Fear of facing one's own truth, fear of change, fear of realizing that you deserve so much more. But let me ask you something and think about it sincerely. Do you really believe you were born to live this way? Accepting emotional crumbs, surviving on distractions, silencing your own will just to avoid bothering others? Do you have any idea how many people today are trapped in this cycle? And worse, they don't even know they are trapped anymore because emptiness became company. The discomfort turned to silence, and life became just a gap between one notification and another. And now I ask you, is this emptiness really yours? Or is it a reflection of everything you failed to face? Stay with me until the end, because what comes next may hurt, but it can also open the eyes you've been closing for too long. We grow up hearing that we need to get used to it. With the noise, with loneliness. With the noise, rush. With a little, with whatever I can. And then one day you wake up and realize that you've even gotten used to emptiness. But let's be real, getting used to emptiness is not maturity. It is giving up. It's as if you were saying to yourself, I don't expect anything more from life. And that honestly should scare you. We start accepting a lukewarm relationship because this is better than nothing. Believes that living for others is love. You convince yourself that working in a place that makes you sick is necessary, and you get distracted enough that you don't need to look inside. So I wouldn't have to face that hole that was growing right in the middle of my chest. How many times have you thought about changing everything, but gave up because it's not possible now? How many times have you held back your tears in the bathroom and come out with a fake smile because no one needs to know? How many times have you kept quiet because it's just a phase, but that phase has now become a lifestyle? Identifying with this is not a weakness. It's a sign that you still feel. It still bothers me. Want something different? The problem is when we stop caring. When the heart stops complaining and starts accepting any emotional crumb as if it were a banquet. When the soul stops screaming and becomes just a muffled echo in the back of the mind. And do you know what hurts the most? It's just that it happens slowly. You don't realize. You just adapt until one day you no longer recognize who you were. That person who dreamed, who felt, who was moved, who wanted more, disappeared dot, and in her place was someone who just survives, who wakes up tired, goes to sleep empty, and spends his days waiting for something he doesn't even know what it is anymore. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever felt like you are just existing while everyone else around you seems to be living? Comment below, speak the truth without fear. There are a lot of people going through the same thing and thinking they are the only ones. Because when we talk about it, we break the cycle. We show that we are not crazy, that you are not alone, that emptiness isn't something you have to accept. It's something you have to face. The world has taught you that complaining is weakness. That showing pain is neediness. That suffering in silence is a sign of strength. But you know what? The world is wrong. The only one who is really strong is the one who stands up. Who says enough. Who doesn't accept living a half life. Because accepting emptiness as normal is like living in a dark room and forgetting that there is light. But what if you open the window? In the next section, we'll talk about what happens when you stop getting used to nothingness and finally start looking at yourself truthfully. So you finally decide that you no longer want to live in this emotional void that has become routine. What does this feel like? Fear, relief, confusion? It's normal. Taking the first step out of that uncomfortable comfort zone is like facing a mirror you've avoided for years. It's not easy, but it's liberating. When you stop accepting life without purpose, you begin to realize that there is so much more to feel: joy, passion, courage, even real pain, the kind that transforms. And it is in this movement that the emptiness begins to lose the place it occupied in your chest. You start to notice the little things: a sincere smile, a conversation that touches you, a hobby that makes you forget about the clock, and most importantly, start listening to your inner voice, the one that always tried to scream for attention, but you ignored because it hurt too much to hear. But do you know what really changes? You put yourself first. You stop living to please others, to fulfill expectations that aren't even yours. You create limits, say no without guilt, understand that your well-being is not a luxury, it is a necessity, and that's when life begins to make sense, not the meaning imposed by society or by others, but your own meaning, a meaning that comes from the courage to no longer conform, to seek something that fills not only your time, but your heart. And of course, this path is not easy. There will be days when the emptiness tries to come back, tries to convince you that it's easier to stay still. But the difference is that now you know you can choose, that you have the power to decide whether to accept the void or fight to fill it with something true. Now, think about it. How many people are still stuck in this cycle? How many have never heard someone say that they deserve more, that they can do more? If you're here reading this, maybe it's time to be that voice. To set an example. To show that freeing yourself from emptiness is not only possible, it is necessary. If this video touched you, if you recognized yourself in any moment, leave a comment here. I want to know your opinion, your story, because your story matters. And if you want to continue receiving messages that challenge this cycle of emptiness, that bring reflections and a bit of irony to awaken your mind, subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't accept emotional crumbs. We want the whole table. So come with me, because the best is yet to come.